So, a lot of us are now reading and learning about the recent child support order that has been entered against NBA superstar Anthony Edwards, who plays for the Minnesota Timberwolves. And there are a lot of people online attempting to engage in media pressure in a way to try to force his hand to maintain a relationship with a quote unquote son that he's never seen. Let me say this, and this may very well shock the consciousness of many. I support his decision not to have any relationship with any of those children. Let me repeat that. I 100% unequivocally, categorically support Anthony Edwards' decision not to maintain any relationship with the children born to Ayesha Howard, Alexandria Desroches, and Deja Charlie, or Carly, depending upon her phonics. And this is the reason why when you meet these type of girls online, IG moms, let's be honest, these gentlemen are not in a relationship with these girls outside of a sexual encounter. And all three of them showed their hand fast, quick, and in a hurry when they immediately, even before the children were born, for one of them, filed and advanced a paternity lawsuit. Notwithstanding, for those who did not advance one immediately, they immediately took to social media. So here's the deal, these girls are 304s. Okay. Like it, love it, or hate it. These are IG girls, they're not models. And I think if we were to go through discovery, that any of you ever think to come for me through defamation of character, I think Anthony would be able to call it out very fast, quick, and in a hurry. Y'all were met online. This notion of being quote unquote IG models has taken it to a whole different level. You all utilize the platform in an effort to solicit. Yeah, I said that. Okay. And so while I advocate for what I think is best in the interest of children and women and our communities, I think what you all will see in the upcoming documentary of Ron Ball, The Allen Iverson Way, trust that process, okay, as well as Anthony Jones, aka Wolf, Lyrical Legacy, you're going to find that we're going to touch base on those issues as we chronicle the social movements, as we chronicle the decades, because it is a conversation worth having. It also touches on the issue of the impact of Roe v. Wade versus Dobbs decision and a woman's right to choose and pro-choice in life. So here's the deal. Anthony Edwards is paying child support. One is by default. Ayesha Howard, she did not appear in court. So her offer of $3,000 per month was through basically what we would deem as a default judgment. I am sure that her lawyers will go back and write based on his $40 per month income that he once made in his early years in the NBA. Alexandria is now looking at something like $14,000 through an award. But here's the deal, you don't award her what she would have made if she were his life partner. So her life and her from jurisdiction to jurisdiction in the documentaries. But when you're in a state like Georgia, for example, it is 23% of the gross income. Edwards is that's where he resided. But wherein you are in a state like Minnesota, they look at a different. Technically, she was only supposed to get the very same amount Aisha got, which was $3,000. If it's based on her making $1,000 per month versus what he could have made, right? But when they looked at the totality of the circumstances, they say he's making $4 million per month. So they gave her an enhancement at $14,000 per month in child support, plus $21,000 for legal fees, etc. Here's the deal. At some given point in time, by now, you guys ought to know better. But let's look at what Anthony may have been encountering during the year of 2022 that resulted in him basically being on a downward spiral, impregnating four women, including Shannon Jackson, who would become his wife. So you have three children born between September 2023 and October 2024. Okay, lesson learned. But what we're not going to be doing, journalists, what we're not going to be doing, Black community, what we're not going to be doing, public, is trying to force them into these quote unquote partnerships and lifetime relationships like Scotty Barnes, like Paul George. Well, what do they have in common? They all had the same agent. Isn't that something? At one given point in time, all of them had the very same agent where you meet these girls on IG, they impregnated, and then you offer them money to abort. They refuse to abort. They have the child, and then they go forward with these child support claims. All of them had the same agent. He eventually ended up giving his client list to, I believe it's CAA who has it now. I stand to be corrected. Y'all know I come on these shows and I'm just fast, quick, and in a hurry with it. 99.99% of the time, I don't have to go back and reference anything. I have that idyllic memory, but I'm almost sure, I believe it's CAA who was able to take his clients. If it's not CAA, I know they're out in California. I could check back in with it. But the bottom line is the agent turned over his entire file. In fact, just give me a second. Yeah, no, I'm gonna do this live. Okay, let's just do it this way so we make sure that we're accurate. His agent was same as Scotty's. Let me look back through my references. I told you this joint be live, yo. Okay, all right. So who was their agent? Okay, so Paul George's agent was Aaron Mintz. That's his actual agent now. But they had Billy Duff. Okay, they had Billy Duff, who eventually ended up giving his file to WME. Okay, and that's how that worked. But currently, Paul George is under CAA. So that's the one who's now under CAA with Aaron Mitz. But Billy Duffy was Scotty Barnes also. He was Scotty Barnes' agent too. Let me go ahead and double check that. Had Scotty, because I know that there was an issue I personally had presented to the commissioner of the NBA because I thought that these were all coincidences, that these guys are being represented by the same agent. They're all finding these girls on IG, all purportedly offering them $1 million or more. Okay, so here's the deal. Billy Duffy is the agent who represented Scotty Barnes. And who is it? Paul George is under Aaron Mitz. Okay. Billy Duffy had Scotty Barnes. Okay. That's who he was in the past. Emmy, who was their client list. Okay, so let's go through here. All right. Here we negotiated. Okay. Luca. Okay. Anthony Edwards, Scotty Barnes. Okay. So now they're all under CAA. That's what connections. CAA and WME Sports. Okay. Okay. Because I did a previous conversation and a letter on this. Okay, so they had Anthony Edwards, Scotty Barnes. That was the list. Okay. All right, so that was the list of the individuals that they had that drew the conversation of whether or not there was some type of correlation, uh, course and scope. These particular making I'm making now is how these individuals ultimately ended up in a situation wherein they offered Paul George. Yeah, that's what I need to find out. Who was his agent when he offered the $1 million to this trick? Yeah, I called her a trick. She was a stripper down in Florida and Miami. Okay. Okay, that's who his agent is now. But who was his agent then? Okay, in 2013. That took place like 2012, 2013. And then you guys were trying to force him into some long term relationship with this woman. And that was one of the reasons why I said then, as I say now. Okay. So he had Aaron Mintz, CAA, and they turned the file over there. Okay. So the point that I was making then that I'm making now, the media began to pressure, the public began to pressure Paul George to say, listen, you need to maintain a relationship. You need to meet the daughter. Why? In the course and scope of him meeting the daughter, he ends up maintaining a continued relationship with this stripper. And ultimately, she gets pregnant again, and then gets pregnant again. And then ultimately, she becomes a quote unquote life partner. Really? The same thing happened with Scotty Barnes. Y'all could talk all this stuff y'all want about Alyssa Thomas Holmes. Go back through the shows that I have on her, a Tumblr girl, a IG girl, a 304 type. Okay, what's the term I'm looking for? NDA type. Okay, Plan B type. Okay, y'all can paint the picture of that trick any which way y'all want, upside down and all around. Trust me on the process. We know what we know. Okay, so that being said, when y'all do that, y'all try and force these particularly African American male athletes who are in these relationships with non black women or Latinx, okay, the Alexandria types, all of a sudden now, these tricks get online and they think because they have the baby, they have the bag. Well, here's the deal, there can be camaraderie between her and Ayesha Howard all they want. So what? That's not the point. That's not the nature of what we're talking about here. Ayesha could prop her up all day and all night, with the mindset of these two birds, literally birds of a feather, flock together. I stand true and I stand corrected. I applaud Anthony Edwards' position not to maintain a relationship with those type of women. They're 304s. The setup has already been established. He would be stupid. He would be a fool to go back and try and maintain any type of relationship, to have any visitation rights, to have any time with the children. A sad situation, but guess what? They're children of tricks. So let's, because I have a Jewish background, and the king of the house of David, King David, if you look, whether it be the Torah or in the scriptures, it made clear those women were set aside. Their children were never made part of the household. Those children were separate and they were distinct. And all King David was required to do was maintain a household for them. And they played their position from there. So let us not be confused that he has to maintain some spiritual relationship with children born outside of the home. This is not a King David and a Bathsheba situation. It's not. It's not a queen situation. It's not. These were never women that he maintained relationships with. These were women who, from day one, maintained the type of relation. I don't mean day one as in being day one women. I mean from the moment he met them. So why now is everyone trying to say you're a deadbeat dad because you don't want to spend time with the children? He's spending money on the children. And that is what he's been ordered to do. So let's play it out. If they were looking for a father figure for the children, they should have went about it a different way. Go about it by saying, here's your son. Do you want to spend quality time with your son? Not go about it with taking to social media saying he tried to offer the money to abort the child, or by going to the courts and filing lawsuits before children are even born. Hello, like Justin Jefferson type. The minute the baby's born, she's got makeup on, hair done, nails done, everything done, takes a photograph, and now she's in court. So they play their cards. So since they played their cards, Anthony would be wise to do just that. In a game of poker, if I'd have the cards where you could see them, would you be a fool to play against what you see? Especially if I'm letting you know I have a house, okay? It's like playing against Vegas. You're going to lose every single time. So the fact that Anthony has made the decision to say, I'm a married man now, I'm going to respect Shannon in this course of this relationship. I've already brought three complicated situations into this long term relationship that he has with Shannon Jackson. Allow him to move forward in the capacity as a wife and husband. Allow them to build a true family system where there's no outside dynamics, there's no drama. You all are thinking because it's a boy that he's going to take to this child and that somehow is going to be the future NBA baller. No, if that's what's going to happen for him, that's going to be what happens. She has $14,000 per month. She was only making $1,000. And so you don't get the pleasure of saying these children get to vacation with him and the rest of the children. Anthony, listen and do what you need to do. Continue on the path that you are on. Stay focused with you and Shannon. You have matured to say, I'm not going to go back to that circumstance. That is what you need to be thinking about, that you are not going to go back to that circumstance. You're not a teenager. You're not someone who no longer can live in excuses, denial, and justification. I applaud the decision to say, you know what, I'm going to pay this money. I'll appeal it because she doesn't need $14,000 per month to take care of a child. That child had never become accustomed to a particular lifestyle. When they utilize those type of matrix for the decision to issue child support, it is supposed to be predicated upon what the child lifestyle would be like in the family. That child was never part of your family. That chart, those matrix, those numbers, calculations are generally utilized in divorce settlements where you say this child was accustomed to a particular lifestyle. Her children were not accustomed to a particular lifestyle. That being said, okay, it's a boy. So what? Let that child know your mom was a 304. I met her on IG. Enough said. Y'all don't need to be sitting here trying to comfort him with all of this deadbeat dad. You're not a deadbeat dad. The African American Juvenile Justice Project, if you were a deadbeat dad, they would have called you out on it. They didn't call you out on it. And it's organizations like them that should matter to you, not what TMZ and the general public seemingly thinks. They have been advocates for the lives of Black youth since like 2007. They spoke internationally like 2 years ago. And they regularly speak on issues regularly, daily, as it pertains to meeting the needs and the concerns of the Black community. And so, to me, it's those type of organizations that you should be listening to, not someone who's posting a picture with girls where you can see her tetas and all this fake hips and fake butts and fake, fake, fake. So, how much does motherhood cost? It costs her 14 grand a month. Okay, good for her. So here's the deal. Whatever Ayesha Howard, the mother of your daughter Aubrey, gets, because she's been involved in public and legal child support battles with you, even probably before that child was even born. Whatever the mother of Amir gets, it is what it is. And then the mother of your daughter that was born, also Iris. So whatever they get, that's on them. But here's the deal. Stay focused, move forward. Don't allow anybody to cause you to backpedal. Don't let the NBA put you under any type of pressure because that's what they're hoping. That is how they got to this stage in the first place. They're hoping that if they put enough pressure on you, you'll be like, all right, well, let me hang out with my little boy. No. The fact that she's under a court order to receive child support from you doesn't change when and how you met her. And it doesn't change the setup unless you're going to end up being a fool like Paul George, and you wonder why Paul George is the poster boy for the mental health of the NBA. The media pressured him to have this relationship with this non Black woman, purposely so. And then ultimately, it's impregnation after impregnation after impregnation to, okay, lifetime partner. And all of them fake that thighs, fake nose, fake lips, fake tits, the whole thing. Walk away from that. You have Shannon Jackson, pay your child support and do that. What makes a father? Let's have that conversation. What makes a father? There had been a lot of books that were out there on fatherhood, particularly in the Black community. T.D. Jakes had a book on fatherhood and emotions. That was a really good book. Lamont Hill has discussed that within the scope of what he does for Black News. But there's another gentleman who had a book on Black fatherhood in Black America. And I think that's a book worth you reading, along with Emotionalism. There's a book by T.D. Jakes that he wrote on how to control that, because that's exactly what you're being subjected to now. You're being subjected to people trying to come against you. But Michael Connor has a book on Black fathers, An Invisible Presence in America. He and Joseph White, read that book, Becoming Dad, Black Men in the Journey to Fatherhood. It's a Pulitzer Prize winning columnist, Leonard Pitts, who wrote that particular book on fatherhood. Save a Seat for Me, Notes on Black American Fatherhood. Mark Anthony Neal, a prominent scholar who did his on research, what it means to be daddy, fatherhood for Black men living away from their children. This is a great read to me because, I have a sociology background. It is something that we're going to be journeying on in our documentary, Ron Ball, The Allen Iverson Way, as well as Lyrical Legacy, the life and legacy of Anthony Jones, A.K. Wolf, because this one was written by Jennifer Hamer, Hamer, a sociologist that places the behaviors of non custodial Black fathers within the larger economic, political, and social context, directly challenging mainstream cultural assumptions. The thing I really enjoy about that read is because it does just that. This stuff about absentee fatherhood results in Black children going to jail, being imprisoned, three strikes and you're out, not attaining their education. The studies don't support that in its entirety. The studies are supporting that they're co-parenting. parenting. Right. But there are also studies that support where it's healthy for some Black fathers to remain away. And let's put it within the context of those who are incarcerated. So if you have a father who's incarcerated being raised by a single Black woman, we find that those children are going to get their education. Those children are contributors to society. Okay. So what does absentee fatherhood actually mean, or what could it mean for you, Anthony, within the context of who the mothers are and the toxic situation that builds around them, legally taking you to court, humiliating you and your family, disassociating you from humanity, respectfully, reducing you to nothing more than a sperm bank for profit. So, wherein you're facing those dilemmas, that is not a healthy environment for you to try to connect to. It's just not. Yeah, the same thing we saw with Brittany Reiner and what went on with her and the father of her child. Okay. For him, it was like, okay, in time, I'll develop this relationship. Do not succumb to public pressures. That's not healthy for the child. There's another book called Black Fathers, Black Sons, a social autobiography written by Waters. And that particular book is good. Personal studies across multiple families that highlights the diverse roles of fathers, stepfathers, grandfathers, and the like, and what they play, and can offer their children. And so that's something worth dealing with. As far as I'm concerned, I think what your lawyers should have done was force each one of those quote unquote baby mamas to go to take courses on motherhood and parenting. This presumption that just because you can bring a child into the world that somehow makes you a mother, that a child support check of $3,000 to $14,000 a month is going to make them good parents. No, look at their lifestyle. And this was a girl that lived off $1,000 a month. Does she even have the intellect, the intelligence, the academics, the wherewithal to be able to properly use $1,000 a month, right? Does she? Let alone $14,000 per month. So how is that money going to be spent? So this is where your lawyers come in. Okay, Your Honor, if you're going to award that, then we're going to audit the money every single month. We're not supposed to be paying her. We're not supposed to be giving her a lifestyle. We're supposed to be ensuring that the child has a lifestyle. Case in point, Sean Combs. His name is going to come up a lot in our documentary. Sean Combs with Misa Hilton, also referred to as China. Go figure. Okay. When she took him to court for child support at the time, I think it was 2004, she was awarded almost $35,000 per month. Okay. And then he had purchased her a home immediately after the murder assassination of Anthony Jones in November 2003. Immediately purchased Misa a home in Westchester County. And so in that, she eventually would move another gentleman into that home. So what Sean did was allow the home to go into foreclosure. Like, yo, I ain't paying for this. Can you knock him at that point for doing that? To be honest, no, you technically cannot. I'm paying to make sure my child has a roof over his head. I'm not supposed to be paying to make sure that you and some dude have a roof over your head. So, what lawyers ought to be doing right now as they advocate and your best interest as the men is trying to ensure that the money's being properly utilized. So, what would that look like? It would mean having someone audit the $14,000 every single month to ensure that the money's being used for the child. So, here's how different states operate. If you were in a state like North Carolina or Georgia, or Kentucky, basically what they would be able to do is they say, how much does an apartment cost? And how much does it cost for this child's bedroom in that apartment? So, mom, you're going to need an apartment regardless. Mom, you're going to need a place to live regardless. So, what would a three-bedroom house cost versus a two-bedroom? Or a one-bedroom condominium versus a two-bedroom condominium to accommodate the child? What does that cost? Right? So that's how they analyze it. And I think that is the difference in why Ayesha Howard's situation will end up being different than Minnesota. But then Minnesota's looking at a non-black woman who's saying that she has a child from a black athlete. So good for you. You played yourself in that. How's that going to work out for you? Right? And then the fact that the photo that she's allowing to be used is all titties and ass, right? So that should tell you what she's trying to do. You got a couple of you ballers out there that got baby mamas of two and three other athletes or entertainers and stuff like that in that space. Rodney Strickland, let's take it all the way back. His baby mama is the mother of like what, five children now? Athlete, entertainer, I'm just saying, dude from the streets, like those days of big meat, I'm just saying. right? And so, wherein you all are not monitoring what's happening while y'all have to pay child support under these circumstances. And the reason why I threw him out there is because that goes back to 1980s, 1990s, right? And so, fast forward, have y'all learned anything differently? And there again is why I say what I say to the commissioner, Adam Silver. Uh, what are you doing, commissioner, on the front end versus what is the players union doing? The Krista Chen types, right? What are they doing with regard to educating you all as athletes, continuing education? You all should sit under a program through the African American Juvenile Justice Project. You all should be compelled to have some type of studies in terms of reading books on Black fatherhood and what it means. You all should have that. And we're going to deep dive that in our documentary because it is something that is of great concern. But if you're dealing with issues where your mom transitioned and passed away and you are, some years of grief, what type of services were being provided to you in terms of bereavement, that by 2022 you're just out there, right? And so these are deep issues that you had to overcome yourself. And in the course and scope of your having to do that, 4 women end up being impregnated, all having children born between 2023 and 2024. So the mindset of some of them is, well, let everybody be together. Well, you're not that rapper, Boosie, right? With 10 and 20 children, and you want everybody under one house. No. And you're not going to try and live the Elon Musk type. It's not healthy in our community. It doesn't work. And don't let anyone try and sell you on the Alicia Keys and the Swiss Beats and the Usher mentality. They want that now because Alicia Keys has a white mother, as does Usher's mother of his children is a white Spanish girl. You're talking about Puerto Rican Italian. She's Caucasian. Y'all could fancy it race and mix it with nationality if you want. So now all of a sudden they want the black mothers, kind of come together and help us raise these children. No, that's on them. That's on them. They don't get to force and change the narrative of what it means to grow up in 2 households. I dropped Blackness, which was a song dedicated to Drake. Check it out. It is on our timeline. It's also on Spotify, YouTube. It's going to be part of the 29 album that we're dropping for our documentary.
They say 67% of black children are born to single parents. They say 1 in 3 black men are in prison, so 2 in 3 are not. From Anthony Wolf Jones to Anthony Edwards, from Bob Marley to Allen Iverson. What is fatherhood? Growing up with you, father, friend, more than a check on which we depend. Manhood, brotherhood, fatherhood, respect. But what does it mean when there is a disconnect? Fatherless, penniless, memoryless. What does it all mean in this distress? An academic analysis, a scholarship in the street. Fatherhood is a lifestyle, not a college degree. No father in the home, listen close, you are not alone. Absence doesn't mean money for bail, or guarantee a stint in jail. Though we hurt, we pain, we will, you will still prevail. Shelter, food, clothes, did mother do it all on her own? From schoolwork to after school, what check held down my home? Little league mentors, uncles, our peeps on the street, managing and preventing police encounters and the beat. Rich and poor, police at the front door, but we stay determined to fight and want more. Hot and cold, 3 hots in a cot. Are we seen as intelligent or just a bot? No father in the home, listen close, you are not alone. Absence doesn't mean money for bail, or guarantee a stint in jail. Though we hurt, we pain, we wail, you will still prevail. Availability, accountability, affordability, accessibility. No pressure of what it should be. No pressure from the public or TV. Real mothers, do you see? Do you see me or just checks? Do I even know the difference between dry and wet? Fatherhood stories untold, memories unsold, truth unfold. Family reunions, generational wealth. But first, we must preserve our mental health. Men heal, tears and fears that men feel, layer by layer, peel. Fatherhood is more than a physical presence, prison or in heaven. More than Christmas, birthdays, and graduation presents. The cycle breaks here. Don't force fatherhood when a mother never cared. The healing starts now. You are not a bunk. I care for. They say 67% of black children are born to single parents.